Hello, this is Stephen Giles. I want to talk about the afterlife, and this is like the second video in the God series. I'm thinking that's all I'm going to be talking about now is God in the way that I understand, like I explained in the first one, that God is creation itself. So it's every single thing that happens. It's the location of every atom. It's wherever. It's every thunderstorm that's happening on the planet simultaneously. It's what every person is doing and saying and thinking. It's God, the whole thing. And like on planet Earth, where we have humans and other intelligent forms of life, conscious life forms. This is much different here on a planet with life on it than, say, on the moon, where there's just dust and craters and just the activity that takes place there. So what I'm saying, what I'm explaining is it's very complex. All the goings on planet Earth are very complex. And everything is happening simultaneously throughout the universe. And whatever other forms of life there are, conscious beings in the universe, they are the activity of God also. So God is a verb, not a noun. And I don't think that there's an all-powerful, intelligent, all-knowing mind that's God separate from creation, that created creation. So, anyway, if you look into the history of human religion, and starting with Sanskrit, Hindu, became modern day Hindu religion, and they are seeking for immortality. There's the myth of the fountain of youth. It's like everywhere there's examples of humans not wanting to die when we die, wanting there to be an afterlife, not wanting our loved ones to be gone when they die. So this is a big deal, one of the main requests that humans have of God, something that can do something about this. So I'm experiencing this inner dialogue, and I have been experiencing this for a long time. Was born in the LDS religion, and they have quite a complex system of thought, belief, faith, belief in an afterlife. They believe that we can become gods ourselves of our own planet and some things like that. They want me to believe that if I will believe them, then all of the people that have died in my life are still there within that system of belief. They're like in the LDS afterlife. I have a friend that said all the religions can be true and they're all in different location. So God makes them all true, and And I'm thinking, that's really complex. I like simple. Well, the most simple is there's no afterlife. God is just all the goings on. God was God before we were born. God's God now, and God's God after we die. And our separateness is like an illusion, because actually there's only God. So I don't think I'm really something separate. So this is rather Buddhist viewpoint. I'm not permanent. I don't have a permanent self. So this is the belief of Buddhism. They're telling me that I'm going to need to believe things that are not true. In my opinion, I'm required to believe things that are not true in order for this LDS afterlife to exist. And so it becomes like this heroic attempt to make the pieces fit. When there's, what about the other religions? What about the Catholics and purgatory? And what about the Hindus and the reincarnation? And I was listening to a Hindu chant that is asking to free us from death, to grant us immortality. And so this group of minds that interact with my mind, within my mind, so it's like telepathic, they're telling me that if I listen to that Hindu chant, that the people around me are going to die. And I'm, what is going on? And I'm putting the two and two together, and it's because they don't want to empower, within my experience and my experience of the others around me. Utah County is like the most densely populated. Well, the percentage is what I'm trying to say. The percentage of LDS people is highest here in Utah Valley than anywhere on the planet. Salt Lake has a lot more by percentage of non-Mormons compared to Mormons than does Utah County. Sorry, I can't remember other terms to describe this, other words. But nobody died. So it was all a lie. It was a lie that the person I was picking up to take to the airport was going to die because I'm listening to that. They're trying to stop me. I listened to a Hindu mantra, devoted chant to Shiva, and there's like people that are smelling crap because the power to block us from smelling crap is defeated by the power of Shiva people. There's a real network of humans that actually have minds. That what power can our minds do when connected to, say, extraterrestrials? We claim that Shiva is an extraterrestrial. So this was like at the BYU, Brigham Young University, and I'm listening to a Shiva chant in my car on the stereo, and their power to keep the crap away fails, and they're smelling crap. So I have this being that communicates to me within my mind, and he's trying to be really powerful, that I am not to go back there ever. That it's like they told me because I'm doing what I'm doing, trying to protect myself from people doing me wrong, that means somebody's going to get their leg broke and I need to stop what I'm doing, or somebody's leg will get broke because their power of their God power is keeping the guy from the fate of the broken leg, and I'm defeating that power that's preventing that from happening. So if my power, my team wins, his karma is such that the course of events are that his leg gets broken. This is bizarre. What I'm experiencing is I'm like concerned I'm going to lose my mind. And then I had this thought a little while ago. What if all of us lose our minds? What if all the humans go insane, like on the same day or something? So it's because I'm focusing on just letting God be God, and God is self-correcting. God does not want to be evil, so he's going to stop the evil, he, she, or it, the goings on of the universe. The forms of life with conscious choice. God does not want to become evil, so God's going to arrange us to say things and do things that stop the evil. So it's like you can look at it like we don't really exist. It's actually God that exists, and we just have this experience of being an independent person. So it's kind of like you're compromising free choice. There's free choice, and then on the other hand, there's not free choice because God's actually doing it all. So the result is you conclude that there's no real local reality, like science is saying, and so that our perception of being independent humans is kind of an illusion or delusional, a delusion from actual truth. So I'm starting to think about me, and I'm realizing, wait a minute, this is just a delusion. Just let God be God and trust God. Everything's going to be fine. God's not going to hurt God. See what I'm saying? You can really depend on it. You can trust and have faith, if you want to call it faith, or trust. But I'm insistent on finding the facts about the afterlife, about God, about what is going on within me that's not fair to me. That I felt like I was cheated today, but then I'm not sure, and I'm thinking I don't need to worry. God can handle this. If somebody's cheating me somehow, and I'm angry and I don't really know why, I don't need to worry about it because I just let God continue to create the goings on in all the people. And so I'm not in a reactive state of mind. And so they change. The inner dialogue changes. I get back into a pleasant state of mind. And I keep focusing on being helpful to others, wishing everyone goodwill. And it's working. So it doesn't matter how big this problem is, God's bigger than any problem that I might be experiencing. So like the people that think that their team has to win or they're going to get hurt, they're in lack of trust in God. If they will just have faith or trust God that, I ask for help. I don't know if I can handle this. So I'm like, will you help me? So who am I asking? Everything. I'm asking everything that is for help. That's what God is all it is. So it's not something separate. There's this Hindu story of the man who wants to learn what God is, and he climbs up to the top of the mountain where the guru is, and the guru explains to him how everything is God, the tree's God, the trail that you came up on is God, and you're God, and I'm God, and it's not something separate, and God is what is us, and so he gets it, and so he's really happy, and he's going down the trail, and there's a Mahatma on the elephant coming up the trail, and the guy on the elephant says, "Get out of the way, we're coming up the trail." And the guy says, "Well, I'm God, so I'm, hey, elephant, move over. I'm going to come down the trail." And he keeps walking. And so the elephant just flips him off with its trunk into the brush. And he gets up and dusts himself off and goes back up to the kangaroo. And what happened? I told the elephant to move aside and that I'm God and I'm coming down. And the Mahatma on the elephant says, "Move out of the way, we're coming up the trail." And the guru says, "Well, why didn't you listen to God?" So it's like what do you make of that? What I thought about was, where is the power at? Who has the biggest power? The elephant is more powerful than one human being, physically. So maybe their God's not big enough. So what does this mean? It means like the end of the LDS religion? Like their priesthood that won't let the women in because only the males get the power of God in the priesthood? Like what's going to happen? All of them simultaneously agree that they don't have the power, that the elephant's bigger. So they stop fighting against God, and they learn it like a more powerful God, based on fact, not on mythology. So seeing that story, those are all factual possible characters, like the human, the elephant, the trail, the mountain. There's no mythological gods in that story. There's just human interaction and animal interaction and the interaction with nature. They keep worrying that if I don't surrender to them, there will be an earthquake. It's like a God threat. I've heard this described before. There was a woman on the radio, AM radio years ago, and she had this concept of the people are using God threats against us. Yep. And one of the big God threats, like in the Old Testament, is if you don't surrender to their particular God, that he will destroy you. And right now, those people, the Jewish people, are in the act of genocide against Palestinians. So I was listening to a YouTube video today about Baphomet, and because I'm trying to understand what's going on here. So he's explaining like it's androgynous, it's a unity of male and female, and it's like it's got the goat that was sacrificed, so it reminds me of the scapegoat role, and I'm scapegoat. I'm like, that's what happens where on the jobs I'm at, because I won't surrender to the big power. They say that I fucked up because I didn't surrender to number one power guy, the big shot. Well, he's like a gangster, he's like a mafioso gangster gangbanger on the jobs, and he's in the position of being number one God man, and I won't recognize that God power of human gang behavior. So it's disrupting the whole job site, and things are happening. I'm getting angry. Other people are attacking. Sides are being taken. It's a problem for the job. So they say, "Steve, we don't want you back." It's happened like 10, 20 times in my life. And people tell me out of the blue to give up. They say, "Steve, give up." And I say, that doesn't make any sense to me. What are you talking about? To what? You know? To God? Yeah, that's why I'm changing my strategy. And the atheists that listen, they can just be as skeptical as they want, and they can, if they could have an extraterrestrial open the door on their car and tell them to get out because the extraterrestrial wants their car, and they can lie that that never happened. You know what I mean? It's like a friend of mine that we were talking about hallucinations, because people always say you're hallucinating if you have an inner voice, but these days they don't. If you're hearing something from God or a spiritual being, they don't diagnose you as schizophrenic or bipolar anymore for that reason. There has to be other reasons. So they're recognizing that this kind of communication is real. Finally, people like Robert Falconer are aware that spirits come in, and that's not us. And they'll lead you into anger or into lust. And it's like, our mind is porous. The name of his book is The Others Within, The Porous Mind, Spirit Possession. They possess people. They get control. And you buy into joining with them in the mode of anger or in the mode of lust or in the mode of greed, say, in the mode of being a gangbanger to have power over the other people. Bullying, I'm talking about bullying. So that it would be like, is this spirit of being a bully, is this me? Or is it someone else? And if you're working with people that understand how our mind can help us because of our inner voice, you might find out that it tells you, I'm something else. And then it might turn against you. And so then you're in this experience of refusing to be afraid of the devil or of God or something. Refusing to be afraid of that. And it's like, wow, that was interesting. I'll hear a communication that something's going on with some other person, and I'm instantly extremely turned on. Like, unbearably. It's like, please stop, go away. I don't want to feel this. So, you know, like if I was, they talk about running. Why don't you run? Why don't you play? Stuff I don't know what they're talking about. You know, where people hook up. And I want to be celibate. I don't want to be turned on. And so, you know, God's doing what God does, and we'll see what God does now. Because God has control, we don't. So things happen within our mind because of God's activity that change our behavior that we would have been having had not God intervened with some experience that happens in our life. Car wrecks, earthquakes, people die. They keep telling me that we're going to die because they are going to die because their team is not convincing me to join in with their view of the afterlife. Therefore, they're all going to die. And they try to get everybody to turn against me to the extreme to stop me from being independent and pursuing happiness and justice and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. You know? It's funny how it turns around. So the very strategies they used to get me to surrender to God, now I'm using to get them to stop doing me wrong in the name of God. Thank you. You're welcome with God, always.